arts and crafts project, and we're going to do it using trash that we got from our local bike shop, and we're going to turn that trash into some gear accessories and parts for our AR15. And the trash we're going to use from our bike shop is something that they probably have a dumpster full of, and that is a popped bicycle inner tube. Good news, arts and crafts has been extended by 3 hours today, but my fingers hurt. Well, now your back's gonna hurt because you just pulled landscaping duty. So we're gonna show you how to turn this inner tube into heavy duty Ranger bands. So why are they called Ranger bands and not heavy duty rubber bands? Well, the Army Rangers were the first to adopt this particular style of rubber band creation, using it on their gear. So things like their knives, their slings, their flashlights, things that they didn't want to rattle or that they wanted to use as a hold down. The most famous use of them is actually to stow and store your sling to your rifle. Typically people will put them on their buttstock and then tuck their sling into that so that it can be rapidly deployed, doesn't get hung up on things when doing entry exit, especially around and in vehicles. If you're newer to shooting and you're still getting your mounted rifle positioning with your head and your cheek weld and where it goes in your shoulder, one of the nice things about a Ranger band is you can position it so that it actually touches your cheek, so that if you feel it, you know you're in the proper spot on your stock, as well as it doubles as a sling storage solution. So such as my gun wall behind me, one of the things that kind of drives me nuts is that my slings get caught on the actual rifle rack when I mount them and unmount them. So one of the things I wanted to do was get a sling stowing solution, and the easiest way I've found to do that is just to use a old-fashioned Ranger band. Now on my 11.5, I don't use a Ranger band because I actually have a really easy way of storing this particular Redback 1 sling. Up front I have a Knight's Armament barrier stop, and I'm actually able to just hook my sling over the barrier stop, pull it tight, and tighten it, and that's it. She's slung and good to go. If I need to deploy it, I just pull this toggle rapidly and I can loosen her up. So on some guns it makes perfect sense, and on other guns it's not needed. Now this is a pretty simple arts and crafts project. You don't need much. You can do it two different ways. You can do it the super duper simple way and use a pair of scissors, or you can do it the more complex way and use a cutting board with a really sharp X-Acto knife. So to start, we're just going to take the inner tube right at the valve stem. I'm just going to take a pair of scissors and I'm going to cut it right next to it. And I'm going to cut that valve stem out. So, don't need that part any longer. Now if you want to get super duper meticulous, you will make sure that this is completely and perfectly straight on a cutting board with a ruler, and you will measure it exactly because it has to be a very specific width or it won't look proper on your rifle. But typically the way that we used to do it, or not we, but my friends in the military that showed me this simple trick, they just literally take scissors and go, that size, that size, maybe that size, and you can just make various ones, and one inner tube will produce roughly 20 to 30 heavy-duty rubber bands. They're quite stretchy. They take a lot of energy to break and bust, and they're a lot more durable than like a silicone style rubber band is. So I'll show you how to do the cutting board method next, and then I'll show you how to mount it to your rifle and how to store your sling in it. So let me show you how to do it the anal retentive method using an X-Acto knife and a cutting mat. The cutting mat you can get pretty much locally anywhere at any arts and crafts store. Same for the X-Acto knife. Just make sure you have a brand new blade. The sharper, the easier it will be to cut. I'm going to just be using a metal straight edge as well, just to help me with my cuts and to press it down. Now you can only get these so straight. The tube itself, you can kind of see already here, naturally is curved. It goes on a wheel, so you can only really get these as straight as, you know, is feasible. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use this to press down on it and line up against my edge here. I'm just going to give that a nice cut. Now I have a nice straight side. I'm going to do just the complete opposite side of that. Again, lining it up with the metal ruler. And there we have a pretty straight, little less than 1 inch wide Ranger band. And then when you're trying to get exact widths, you can use your hash marks on your cutting mat to make them any width you'd like. That's the X-Acto and cutting board method. Typically, I like to use just a regular pair of scissors just because it's super duper easy to make all sorts of different width, different style Ranger bands. But keep in mind that the scissor method won't keep your lines as straight. Okay, so now we've cut up our entire tube into different sized Ranger bands. I'm going to use one that's just a little under 1 inch wide to put around my B5 SOP Mod enhanced stock on my Knights Armament SR15. This is my 16-inch version SR15, and just so you guys are aware, empty magazine. Go ahead and remove that. Empty magazine, I'm not going to put that back in the rifle. Empty chamber, nothing on the bolt. One of the first things we need to do to get this installed is I'm going to push the release button on the anti-rotational sling mount. I'm going to take that, get the sling out of the way. I'm going to make sure the stock is all the way extended, and then I'm going to lift up on it to get it past the detents so I can slide the entire buttstock off. Temporarily, I'm going to set the rifle aside. So here we have the stock off of the rifle and our Ranger band that is just a little under 1 inch in width. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to slide this over the stock. This one is a very tight fit, which is what I want. So one of the things I would recommend is before you slide it all the way over this and onto the actual latch mechanism, we're just going to put it in front of the latch mechanism. That way we can still actuate it and get it back onto the rifle. So I'm going to grab the rifle again and we're going to reinstall the buttstock. So here we are, rifle, buttstock. Just going to slide that over the buffer tube. I'm going to pull the mechanism up and over the detents and get it to click. Now I can put the stock all the way in and I can slowly work my Ranger band over my entire mechanism. And there she is, installed on the rifle. I'm going to reattach my quick release anti-rotational swing pivot point, just like so. So now that you have the rifle all set up with your new Ranger band, the easiest way to stow your sling is to bring it in nice and tight along the side of the rifle that is mounted at the front, and bring that entire part and wrap it around the back. So now we have it tight around the buttstock and coming past the band. So all we're going to do is just tuck it through this little spot right here. So there she is. She's all stowed, tucked into the Ranger band nice and tight. Sling isn't going to go anywhere, and if I do need to deploy it, all I need to do is just grab it and pull it straight out, and it is now ready to be used and deployed in the field. So now we've had it tucked in and everything looks good. Finished product, pretty great. All the way around the buttstock. You can literally just pull it loose and it keeps it nice and secure. It's always a good idea to have an extra length of some tube that you can just throw in your range bag, your backpack, your kit. That way, if you do need to secure something while out in the field or camping or hiking, you can just cut it up with your field knife and use it to secure whatever you might need. Go ahead and leave me a comment on what you're using your Ranger bands for and how you make them. I'd be interested to see if there's any other techniques. Go check out your local bike shop, make friends, get a couple inner tubes, and have an unlimited supply of Ranger bands for free. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and arts and crafts project. If you liked it, give it a like. If you didn't, dislike. Comment, subscribe, bell, notifications, all that stuff for future episodes, and I'll see you in the next one.